The following podcast contains adult language and themes. Listener discretion is advised.
What does community look like to you? Is it your neighborhood? Or is it your city? Is it a shared love for your favorite team? Do you find your people in a church, a temple, or a synagogue? Maybe your village is built on shared interests or fandom. Whoever your tribe is and whatever your common interests and values, community is vital to our well-being. It's not about surviving, it's about thriving. Human connection, engagement, and belonging are basic needs that are sometimes overlooked in the madness of everyday life. And the more we find ourselves divided by geography, politics, and social media, the harder it becomes to find the courage to allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to enter into some of these spaces and relationships. It's not always easy work. It can even be grueling, but it's worth the effort to experience the beautiful messiness of community.
Get ready to challenge your own opinions and ideas, because these folks are going there. Taboo topics are back on the table.
Welcome, villagers from villages around the country and the world, and welcome to another Season 3 episode of the Going There podcast. I'm your host, Matt. Today we are here to talk about community. And so we have some people who are part of my community who are going to talk about the different aspects that they experience. We're really excited because we have an awesome crew here. Let's start with introducing our panel.
Hi, I'm John Skurdick, work at the Cleveland Public Library. I've been at the library downtown for 35 years. One of my jobs is the chief of collections, and I'm in charge of preserving the history of the city. Every single day of the year, I try to archive the different going-ons of the city of Cleveland by interviewing locals so that there's a written record and a photographic record of people around town.
Have you profiled everybody at this table?
Yes, I have.
Oh, so you got, okay.
Pretty soon, I'm almost there with, I have a photo of our guest here, but I haven't written it. Should be out shortly.
Yeah, I was trying to make this killing as many birds with one stone tonight as possible.
Thank you.
My name is Kristen Mulcahy. I started by doing kids and family yoga. So I started my account called Kids in Cleveland. And then I kind of transitioned it to be Kristen in Cleveland to include more of my life. So Kids in Cleveland is my yoga and Kristen Cleveland is my social media. But I do a lot of things with that, like around community and around putting on events for different organizations and things.
All right, my name's Brian Lockman. I orchestrated the People's Flag of Cleveland flag that came out just over a year ago. From that, have just gotten more into like community engagement, involvement, getting to know a lot of cool people. Started a segment called Cleveland Chats, where kind of like John, but in more of a video setting, highlighting cool and interesting Clevelanders that I've met along the way that deserve to be highlighted.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. And it has to be mentioned, we did have a fourth guest for today who unfortunately had an emergency. Sunda Tan of the Self-Love Club. Very, very cool organization. I love the mission. And to those of you watching us, I promise not everybody in Cleveland is white. Yeah. So offline, we've all talked about this in one form or another. We've had conversations as a group and conversations individually. The fun, interesting part to me was we had a Zoom call with everybody, and everybody kind of defined community a little bit differently. And I love that, because community should not be one thing. It should not be this cookie cutter. Community means, community, we are all unique individuals. Our communities are unique, and the way that we work within those parameters is itself unique, right? So I'm putting you on the spot. In as simplest form as possible, how do you define community? What does it mean to you?
So when you were saying that, I don't remember giving a definition on the Zoom, but for me, I feel like community is survival. Like that's what first came to my head.
That's not how you put it, but that was, but that was pretty much what you said.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the even more like micro level personal communications and engagement with like people already in your life. Like I think the way you see community is like, yeah, like your tribe,
Yes.
like your
Yes.
individual tribe. That's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I guess community is so many different levels, right? There's the immediate like community of where you're raising your family, your friends, having a couple of kids myself, it's kind of like great. So where their friends, their parents that are also going to help raise the kids. Again, like a small town of who helps out who, whether that's through like storefronts and things, or just again like your little bubble of friends. I feel like that we all kind of found during COVID, right? That like small bubble that you stuck with, but also at a greater sense, like there's your city community is in a larger front of sharing goods and helping each other out, and it's a tribe to whatever level an individual has it, whether that be like 4 or 400.
The common thing that is discussed a lot in like therapy is like your relationships and how it's essentially like a dartboard. And the closer you get to the bullseye, the closer those people are. Because I used to have a really hard time of, I think, discerning who should be as close to me. You bring in some of the wrong people because they're close by vicinity, perhaps, but it's like, that's not. So I think that is because that is very much an emotional and a logistical way of looking at it, as you just did. That was good. John?
Yeah, I think you guys kind of summed it up. It's also like a shared life experience, like everything that you brought before you moved to an area. Like we talk a lot about the pride of Clevelanders and Northeast Ohio, but everybody has their own story, and it's kind of interesting when you talk to all of these locals and this discussion we have now. People have these unique experiences. So I always think a community is like what has brought you to where you're at now, and do you feel part of a neighborhood? Do you feel part of a community?
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to discuss like the locational community from the sense of we're all Clevelanders, we all are active in our communities. But as you were just saying, John, community can be like, I mean, that's why they have Comic-Cons. Like there's the nerd community out there. There's communities for every type of thing. And they are survival, like 100% from a psychological standpoint, if nothing else. Isolation and community are like opposite ends of the spectrum. I just texted Brian today. I was like, it's funny. I feel like things work out in a weird way, but I don't think it's weird. I think it's this natural thing. This podcast is a reflection of me, and therefore me feeling isolated right now. The community thing, I mean, we've been working on this for months, but still it came at the perfect time. Like it's just getting to sit down with the three of you and discuss this. I already feel like, you get a small sense of community just right here. So it's great. I would be remiss if I did not bring up Cleveland and its sordid history with community. And I'm saying this because there seems to be a collective kind of vibe and aura that cities, towns, and all of these things had. Cleveland, for a long time, I think struggled in that way. And it felt less like a community, I think, at some point in history. Anyone who's seen the ESPN 30 for 30 knows, Believe Land. And I'm so happy how they ended that. I'm so glad that obviously the Cavs won because I know it's just sports, but it absolutely bleeds into the river and across the entire city. And so there used to be, and there are in smaller facets of it, this zero-sum mindset that seemed to exist where sometimes in some communities, it was like, if this person gets ahead, that means I don't get something. Instead of the, rising tides, that old cliche. But the new era of Cleveland, the art scene's getting bigger. The restaurant scene's been big for a while. There's, tourism, actually people wanting to come visit Cleveland. And then, of course, there's all the different projects that you guys have been working on. So let's take some time to talk to each of you. How have you been involved in the community? You've already mentioned high level, but what's been your experience?
So growing up, I think it kind of what you mentioned too, it's like we're allowed to joke about Cleveland, but if you're not from here, you're not allowed to joke about Cleveland. Like
Yeah.
we're allowed because we're in it. But I feel like from when I was a kid to now, there's been so much progress and like progression to this new hyped up city. I feel like there's been a lot showcased of Cleveland in the last 10 to 15 years that I was telling somebody, like, I feel like I'm the generation that's going to put the joke to bed. And I'm raising my kid on like, this is the Cleveland that this is the Cleveland that like, I mean, I was in high school watching LeBron play for the Cavs, and I feel like that was just like, we're getting national attention and the city's getting highlighted in a great way.
And then they watch us get spanked by the Spurs in the
Yeah.
most Cleveland way possible.
But like I remember coming home from Indians games, going back to Cleveland Heights, and there was Cedar Hill. And Cedar Hill used to, instead of having lights, it had like a box, and it was like a green check if that lane was open, and it was a red X if it was closed. And I remember we'd leave downtown Cleveland and drive home, and I'd turn to my dad, I'm like, every one of those are green going up the hill. How are you supposed to get downtown right now? And he's like, oh, it's closed. I'm like, what? Downtown's closed? Like, because nothing was going on, I feel like, when I was a kid. And I feel like it's so exciting to see the buildings popping up, the things happening, that I feel like we're part of the renaissance of Cleveland. We say this, it's the renaissance of Cleveland. We're seeing this big progression. And I think that's where all of us, through our own ways, through social media, are highlighting the good that's happening, because we are no longer a joke. There's so many good people. There's so many great things going on that like it's our job to keep highlighting the good and keep working on the things that need to be worked on. But it's a new era of Cleveland that's been really exciting to be a part of.
I got a tattoo when the Cavs won in 2016. You donated $23 to the LeBron James Foundation, so I have like a C with the shape of Ohio on my ankle. So that was like really fun, right? Like I was, I think, in my 20s, and we went downtown for it, and there was a really big sense of community. I remember like driving back home. I live by the airport, and like everyone was beeping their horns, and it was I do love the feeling of sports. I love when everyone comes together with that. But I mean, I have found my community right now in the content creator space. So I'm with a lot of people who are showcasing it in ways. I feel like those are my coworkers. I learn a lot from them. I love hanging out with them and, seeing their perspective of things. I'm very lucky because I'm with a group of people who find the best of Cleveland,
Yeah.
the best people. They're very hopeful. They want to support a business. I love doing social media where I can go and I can connect with a business owner, and it can be a continued partnership, or I can find that relationship. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, and I always hated it, right? Always wanted to leave. Always, didn't want to be here. Like I thought it was gray and horrible and awful. And now that I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. I love taking them to the places I went as a kid. Like it's so much different to me. And I don't know. I think people are kind. I think they're nice, and like I know how to get everywhere.
What was the impetus to like want to get involved in that way?
In which way? In content creation?
Yeah, in content creation, but specifically in like Cleveland-based content creation.
So I started my social media with my kids and family yoga. So I was teaching in Tremont because I was a preschool teacher over in Tremont, and I was leaving that job, and I like loved the community in there. I loved the kids in there, and it was a joke that we were going to do like a singing club. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do a singing club. I can do a yoga club because I teach yoga. So it's like how it all started. And like when one thing falls down, another thing comes up. And again, it was at a point where I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. I was in a transition between jobs, and I was searching for community. And like I had this group of kids, this group of families that I really loved, and I wanted to continue with them. And I still go to their birthday parties, and I still see them around town, and there's families who own restaurants in the area. So it is very connecting. And I kind of started my social media through my kids' yoga.
You kind of like that feeling of like, I wanted to leave Cleveland. I feel like a lot of people our age were told by their parents, like, go explore, go
get
see
the
the
hell
world.
out of here.
Yeah.
But what's been super exciting is like I'm sitting here staying in Cleveland, and I see so many families coming back now. They're like, oh, I'm going to raise my family. I'm coming back to Cleveland. They're like, yeah, you are. Come on back.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to raise kids. My mother does not leave Berea. Like she does not leave Berea. My family's very Berea based. Everyone lives in like a
The
10-mile
airport.
radius of each other. Everyone
Which
lives by the
term?
airport. Everybody's by the airport. So my family is never like leave. They're like stay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love it.
Well, I wanted to talk. So I think, Brian, you kind of said, if you're from here, you get it. But, when we talk about the trajectory, of like all of the things we're made fun of, our mayor's hair catching on fire, 10 times our river catching on fire, and 10-cent beer night. There's a slew of things that put us on the map nationally to be made fun of, but we even hold that as a badge of honor. We kind of laugh about that.
Yeah.
I think, at one time we were the sixth largest city in the United States, and then there was white flight, and there was a lot of people who left Cleveland, and then there was the busing, and it's a really complex history. And I'm a super optimistic booster of Cleveland. I love talking to the people, but I think we have to kind of think there's still a lot of ways to go in the neighborhoods. We have 27 libraries in Cleveland, and we're always like, yeah, Cleveland's on the up and up. But when you go through some of these neighborhoods, there's still like food deserts. There's not a lot in these neighborhoods. So we have to be careful not to say that everyone's rising up, because
Yeah.
it's complicated. And I always think that there's important not to just highlight the fancy new places, because the people who have stayed in the neighborhoods, when you say like Berea and your family, I think that's cool. They stay there, they're proud. And a lot of these people in like Lee Harvard and Glenville, they've really put in the time, and they're not seeing sort of the dollars go into their neighborhoods still.
Right.
So I think there's still a lot of great things that can happen in Cleveland when you see the investment in like Ohio City and Battery Park, and people take gambles and roll the dice to open up something. It brings in more people. I love that. So I hope we can get more of that coming.
For sure. And I think that's across the board in any city, especially how do you describe Cleveland? A little big city or a big little city?
It's a little big city or big little city. It's kind of that in between, right?
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of those in our country, and I think they experience the same things. Like, what's the fine line between fixing things up and completely gentrifying it where the people who grew up there can't afford it?
Yeah.
Just like, where's the line between, let's say, building some new exciting things without losing our history and keeping intact some of the things that like the people who've been around forever love? I think Cleveland's pretty good about, like, there are some things like Little Italy and there are some places that have been around for a long time. And I think that is really important to not lose that. I want to talk real quickly with you guys about, so you started something called the People's Flag. What made you start that, and what happened in that process for the people who aren't aware of it?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I was actually out in Chicago for the National Restaurant Association show, and I was out there with a couple of buddies, and one of which had lived in Chicago for about 7 years. And we were taking the train back from the convention center, and he was just like pointing out how the Chicago flag was just like weaved into the marketing of the train, and it's all over the city. And just kind of started this conversation of like, it's crazy, but not too many cities really embrace their city flag, and Chicago's done a really great job of it. I think like the Midwest vibes of Chicago and Cleveland are very similar. And then just kind of started sitting there like, yeah, we're such a sports city. We, to show our pride in the city, we wear our Guardians hats, our Cavs jerseys, our brown shirts, things like that. But a flag itself, especially when it comes to a city flag, the purpose of it is it to be a symbol of civic pride for a community. And I think, you see the Cleveland against the world, there's so much Cleveland pride that I thought it just made sense to get a unifying symbol that people can look at, whether they're a sports fan or a gardener or whatever their fancy in relation to Cleveland is, they can feel pride in having that one symbol. It started with me and a couple buddies going to the bars every couple of weeks and just like, great, let's learn flag design and let's have some drinks and figure it out. And then it just kind of kept going. And again, my big thing is like, I want to reach out to people and pick their brain. And I just kept talking to more and more people, and they had advice. And I talked to graphic designers and people within the city and just, vexillologists. And I just realized that it needed to be a community project and a community event where more voices were heard than just ours. And it just and that's kind of where the Cleveland Chats have come from, and just being really excited that coming back and looking at this whole project, what I loved about it was like engaging with people and learning more about the city and what people are doing. Because again, it's my goal with all of this is highlighting the good and trying to help those who are trying to make it better. And it's been a ton of fun just like getting to know the Cleveland that is today and knowing the Cleveland that was in the past.
And you guys all have that in common. You all are out there in the community and you're profiling people and businesses. And I think that's really important. I think that's important for the bigger picture, but I think it's also important for you as an individual. And that's kind of what I want people to take away from this is, you know what? I don't get out and try new things or meet new people, all that. It's easy to get stuck in that rut.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to challenge yourself if you want to thrive, to challenge yourself to get out of it. Kristen, you had said, I think the phrase that is going to headline the rest of this conversation, and that is community is messy. Like it's super messy. And John, like you were saying, like just talking about the good stuff does not do this conversation justice. The good, the bad, and the ugly with not only building community, but the community that exists now in Cleveland specifically. Like we talked about so many of these things. I'll just mention one and then you guys take it from there. So one of them was in Cleveland. And again, I can't imagine we're the only city that does this. There is still this East Side versus West Side turf war. No, it's not a turf war. I was kidding. But there is this like East Side versus West Side. If you're a West Sider, you're like, I'm not going to the East Side and vice versa. And some of it is elitist, but some of it is literally just, those aren't my people. And that, I think it's stupid. But that's one of the things that we experience where it becomes like territorial in the sense of people aren't going out and trying new things outside of their comfort zone. What else do you think is really important to discuss with this? And I know there's lots of talking points.
Something that I was thinking when you were talking about like the Cleveland chats in the community, right? Like you're just having brief chats with these people and they may extend past that. It's very easy to have like an interview with someone or have a one-off or do, kind of a relationship where you have a couple professional things, but that's really not like, at least for me, that's really not my community, right?
Right.
So it's like I have, you network, you learn people, you might promote them, but that's like not as messy. Because you're getting like a really good perception of them. They're getting a really good perception of you. But like real community, real connection is going to, have maybe some controversy, some disagreements. You might feel like one person's benefiting more than the other.
Oh, I'm sure you guys haven't had any arguments or disagreements in your.
But like the interviews, have you had disagreements in the interviews?
No, it's just
not
me
the
highlighting,
interviews.
and it's easy. But
it's easy.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
That's not true community. That's highlighting community.
Yeah, but
highlighting community.
But like for a strong community, it takes people showing up for a purpose and actions, and I think that's where a lot of community gets messy, right? It takes a village, and I think a lot of people are comfortable sitting at home poking at people that are trying to do things, trying to do good.
Yeah, you talked about community. When you have the internet, you can find your tribe, and I think all of us have put up stuff, and people have attacked us online for,
even
like,
the most innocuous things.
Yeah, it's wild because you want to like highlight people and you want to put out the good, but it just happens every day. Someone will be like, "How could you profile, like, platform that person?" Or that's just you just get a lot of you get a lot of hate and shade from people, and I don't give it any oxygen myself. I just say,
smart.
I'm going to post 2 more people tomorrow, and it doesn't matter, but it's there.
I don't know how you guys feel. At least with this podcast, for example, my motto has always been, my goal is not to offend anybody, but my goal is also not to offend nobody, because that's impossible. Literally, I mean, we're talking about turf wars. I mean, it's like, you're wearing the wrong gang color right now. So yeah, that's an impossible thing. There's a good question within there is, has the rise of social media and the state of the world also, like, people are now far more brave to be assholes online than they would have ever been to be in person. But now you see people acting out in public. Is that a direct link? Is that cause and effect?
What do you mean acting out in public? Because people, the history of the world has been pretty horrible, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
people have
yeah.
done horrible things in society.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's worse.
I personally feel like it's a little bit worse. I feel like there's a lot of people who wouldn't try to start major arguments in public before the internet. And now, because we're in echo chambers, which community is the opposite of an echo chamber, right? Like if you have real community, I just feel like those same types of people are more willing to be just as outrageous in even a one-on-one, but like in a face-to-face setting as they are online.
But are we seeing that more because we're seeing it from our phones? Or have people always been like that? You know?
Probably from behind closed doors. I think when it comes to the interaction between you and I, it could be easier to put something through social media if I'm not face to face with you. And I think people can be a little bit more harsh and unhinged than if I was face to face you and looking at you as a human being.
So I understand that. But
Yeah.
like when we talk about people in public, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone is doing something crazy in public, or we see a video and we're triggered by it, right? We see those things. Is that happening more, or are we just seeing it more because it's put in our phones?
You're highlighting all of the bad
Sure.
out inside of the world.
Yeah.
I do think, and again, this is just my opinion. There's no data that supports this. That's important. I do think that people, especially if you're somebody who doom scrolls and you live online, that bleeds into your actual personality out in public. It can't not affect it. I have seen people who are like Jekyll and Hyde. In person, they're the kindest people ever. Online, they are monsters, right? We've all seen those people. But I do think like to some level, as you were saying, that part is in there somewhere already. So I think now people are feeling a little more brazen to be that way, possibly. But it also becomes this like tribal thing, you know. We're in a very divided country because of politics. And on both sides of the aisle, I see people who are like, one, we all have our guards up more. And two, the second you say, I'm this way or I'm not for this, yeah, people are more likely to act a certain way. I think right now, more than before.
Yeah, I think this a lot at the library. People will call and ask. They'll sometimes use Snopes, or they'll call us and ask for validity of a source, or is this a true story? Because the algorithms are feeding us exactly what you want to see, or to your tribe or to your thing. You know, you're just kind of bombarded by the same things, and you want to believe it. And you know, you hear fake news, but what is the truth, and where does it matter? And you know, I'm glad that some people actually still do call the library,
Thank
and we
God.
try to be a source to say, here's what we have, and here is something that you should look into. But yeah, I guess to that point, we're seeing that more and more, like that we don't have a shared, like there used to be a couple different networks, and there used to be paper over record, and people just don't believe in that as much anymore. So it kind of deteriorates, you know, dialogue or debate. And
Social media and the internet has made it easier to find like-minded people. But again, where is it messy and hard to also find people that aren't like-minded, or being out in public? And if you see somebody who needs something, like reaching out, community is messy and hard because it takes action to help somebody if you see something, or help that family member, or be in touch with that friend that needs help who either, you know, lost the job, did whatever, to reach out. Like that's the hard part and messy part of community. And I think where a lot of people fall short is just that action to engage with their community or their friends or their families, to be there with them. And again, that's where you can say like social media can either help or hurt that, to keep in touch with that friend that's out on their own across the country, or to be right in front of somebody who's in need and everyone just pops to their phone or says, I'm going to stick to my bubble and just walk away. Like that's the hard, messy part of community.
Yeah. And community is the sum of the parts. So, you know, specifically when you're talking about community from a local standpoint, you know, if we join a community for, let's say we're all runners and we love to run. So like, at least we have this one big thing in common. If you're a runner who joins a running club, it probably eats up a big part of your life. But if we're all getting together just because we live in the same area, that's all we really have in common. We all love gray, shitty weather. No, just for a few months.
just 10 months.
But I think it's because community is like, it's this inclusive thing. It's everybody makes up the community. There is no community without all the different parts. And we're hard to get along with. We all have our own agendas. We have our own opinions, our own personalities. That that gets real messy.
I tried to put together a group, and I kind of, with a bunch of strangers online, to do a content creator group, and I learned a lot through that. And something that I've kind of realized is I'm a person who, like, I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong. I'm willing to work on things. I'm willing to kind of see my blind spots. And there are people who will not acknowledge, their blind spots, and maybe don't want to take as much accountability. And I feel like a lot of times I take too much accountability, and I have this like internal feeling that like what I'm doing is wrong or bad, or am I hurting someone's feelings? And then I feel like there's like two types of people, right? You have like that group, or you have the group that kind of thinks like you're the problem. So for me, I always think like, hi, I'm the problem, it's me, right? Like that's kind of like what I go to. So in community, I feel a lot of guilt, I feel a lot of shame, I feel a lot of anxiety. And I don't mix very well with people who kind of come at it like, yeah, you are the problem. Yeah, you are. So I need people who kind of meet me in the middle and be like, what can we do? Maybe you did mess up. Maybe you did make a mistake, but let's be vulnerable and let's talk through it and let's come up with solutions. Right. So that's just like some things that I've been learning, that I kind of need to find the people who will kind of meet me in the middle and kind of work with me through that, if that makes sense.
That's tough. You're being vulnerable online to a lot of people. And I have to assume that you are helping a good amount of people. But I come from the restaurant world. You please 9 out of the 10 people that show up, and one person says that terrible comment or review, and that's the one that sticks with you. And it is like I can only imagine, with all the content you've done, you've helped a lot of people, and it's tough showcasing yourself and making yourself vulnerable, because again, you're trying to constantly evolve, it sounds like, and progress and do some stuff. But it's got to take, I know when you see the comments, it's just like it hits you. It doesn't matter how many times you see it, like it hurts when you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah, being vulnerable is very scary.
No, but it's an important part of it, because a lot of this conversation is about people don't want to get involved. It's not necessarily for a lot of them that they don't want to be involved. It's that they're like afraid to step out there, because the world is scary. People can be shitty, but there's also, again, because we'll focus on that, but there's so many people who actually care and want that. And so I think that puts a lot of the burden and onus on the people like you guys who will orchestrate events. And then it's like, you kind of have to be the ringmaster, and you're herding cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a party this weekend. I was supposed to have a bachelorette party for the premiere of The Bachelorette, which did not end up happening, right? So I just kind of had a girls' night instead. We called it like my canceled bachelorette party. So while I was doing that, I could only invite 7 women, right? And I couldn't invite everybody. Can't invite everybody in the group. So I made sure that whoever's coming is coming. If not, I can invite other people. I posted the pictures, the videos on social media. Some people are going to feel left out. Some people are going to be like, why was I a part of this? And it is very tricky. And it's like, I am, deciding in my life who do I spend my energy with? Like, who is someone that I can, give and take and be in that relationship with, because it cannot be everyone. And I am someone who seeks community. So I talk to my best friend a lot, because she's not like that, right? Like, she has her family, she has her friends, we're best friends, we talk a lot, but she doesn't need as much as I do, where I need to constantly be reaching out, constantly be doing new projects, doing that. And I feel like sometimes I hate that I'm like that, because it does put me in vulnerable situations. It puts me in places where I may not have my best foot forward, and I am so front-facing online and in Cleveland. So it's like, I don't know, people probably have lots of thoughts about me because I am authentic. I do mess up a lot. I do have a lot of like self-blame. So it's just interesting. Like not everyone can always be included in everything. And that's very hard for me. So I don't want people to get their feelings hurt if they didn't come to the party. And I will get my feelings hurt. That's another thing about social media. Social media is based on FOMO, feeling left out.
Yeah.
It's based on not being good enough, not having the right thing. And that's why I always try to add some authenticity into my content, because I want people to know I do struggle with these things. And I do have a lot of issues around.
Yeah. It's very human. I think that what separates you from a lot of the other people isn't that you're struggling with it. It's that you admit that you're struggling with it.
Yeah.
John, you had mentioned a really good point in our earlier conversation, which is community. A staple of the community used to be the church, right? Or the temple. And for better or worse, that's not so much anymore. And nothing's really replaced it. I was raised Catholic, so like the Catholic guilt will keep you involved in the community.
I hear you. I second that.
Same.
So what takes its place?
Well, I think it's still there. When we talk about the history of Cleveland, our first white settler, Lorenzo Carter, he stayed here in Cleveland, and what did he do? He opened up a church and a bar in the Flats. I said, that's the first Clevelander. He knows us. And
if there was a pierogi station next door, it'd be the most Cleveland thing I could think of.
We've always had churches. We've always had bars. So you had those two foundational rocks of Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, I think you see the data. Like, you're right. Maybe less people are going, or finding faith in different ways, or but maybe yoga is on the up. People are looking for self. You did it really well, eloquently, like kind of evolving and trying to challenge yourself. People are looking at different ways in the city and beyond. So, I don't know where other people reach out to, but I think, in the end, as the reason we're here is you look for some kind of community. You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah. Well, and the problem with, of course, I'm generalizing. I'm not saying all churches. The problem with the modern religious template that I see, at least people in my circles, is like the church becomes a micro community where it's I talk to and hang out with the people in my church, but it isn't really the community. It's like separate ecosystem within, where it used to be. Didn't matter. Everybody would show up at St. John's, and that was just
everybody still shows up. I went to St. Leo's for the fish fry,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people they were like, oh, they may not go to church, but the old school, they still come down.
Yeah.
Slavic Village, they come down in the old neighborhood, so
yeah.
they still come down. I mean, fish fry trumps Sunday.
You know what? And it trumps religious disagreements, because I've had some good fish fries with like my Jewish friends and other thing, and I think that's a beautiful. That is what church should be, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've gotten away from that to a degree, not absolute.
Well, yeah, younger generations aren't necessarily as religious or going to church, and that's not necessarily like the community hub that it used to be.
Right.
To whatever extent, also young kids aren't drinking as much as they used to, and I know a lot of my community I met at the bar, whether I liked them or didn't like them. There was conversation that happened at the bar, and that's not as common anymore. So yeah, it is. What is this? What are the meeting points? Is it running clubs? Is it yoga? Where are they in situations where you get every scope of the community a little bit, right? Because that is very central to, like, that's very niche to it being running or yoga or whatever it is, instead of like where it's bumping into all aspects of the community and getting to see diversity in that as well. I think that's a struggle, and I think it's something I think about a lot now, being a little older, and the struggles of younger men, women, things like that, and trying to like reach out to be like, hey, why you be vulnerable out front and why you're vulnerable in front of your kids and peers is that hopefully other people will connect with you in that way, and just reach out for help if they need it, and just know that it can be a common thing.
Yeah.
My closest friend that I have right now, my newest relationship, I met at the library. I was meeting up with another friend. I met at a mom's group years ago. So I was meeting up with her because I was going through some issues, and she's like, do you just want to meet at the library? The kids can play, we can talk. And I was talking very loudly about my issues, per always. And this girl's like, oh, I recognize you from social media. And we ended up just connecting. She's helping me spring clean. So we're doing like a bunch of spring cleaning this week. She has 2 kids. I have 2 kids. We have very similar stories. We're very close. It's like creepy how many similarities we have. But I think sometimes people think that you need these big groups. You need to take pictures with all these people. You need to be doing, I mean, I've been in pictures with people where I feel so lonely, like I think we all have probably experienced that before. Sometimes like it's not this big feeling. It's not this big group. It's that one connection you make at the library, that one connection you make at the coffee shop, like those relationships are so, so important.
But you can't find them unless you go out
and talk very loudly about your trauma.
And talk
very loudly about everything.
No problem here.
This is interesting though, because I have, my daughter, she's going to be 21, and I'm always talking to her and her friends, and her girlfriends and listening. And there does seem to be a little bit of a change. Like I just covered in her neighborhood there, it's called the Lakewood Art Supply, and they're opening up a DVD VHS store. And there's
That's
this
very
push
Lakewood. I love
push
it.
back to this sort of this analog and meeting up and book clubs. And, like the library, I'm always promoting the library. We're the first library to have ebooks in the country, and we have the greatest ebook collection. It's awesome. But now I'm seeing the data of sort of the millennials, they're still using print. So I'm seeing this change a little bit, for maybe they're kind of burnt out a little bit by living their whole life online, and COVID, having high school online. And so it's kind of an interesting, when we talk about community, how it's changes, as talking to an older guy now.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the young kids are craving that, almost that, where social media becomes this norm that's well, we need to crave going out and experiencing things a lot more. But to your point, it's almost like at a younger age, you got to get out there and just feel it out to find your community. But also, and I'm sure you guys can almost all agree, but as you get older, your community gets smaller, but more connected and intimate, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like there is something I look back at college and being in sports and just going out. It's you were feeling out to find those true, intimate, well-connected people. And then you get older and you're but I don't need those other people anymore. Now it's these are my people.
I don't know if it's a generational thing, if it's just the state that we're in the world, or if it's just getting older, but there's more of a conscious effort. Where back then, when we were doing it in college or whatever, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing it, right? They have said, actually, there's some data for you. Is between 2022 and 2023, the community involvement in the U.S. started rebounding, with about 28% of Americans formally volunteering and about 54% engaging in informal helping, helping your neighbors or, doing something like that. So we are seeing an uptick. I think obviously it's rebounding because where was the crash 2020? We all hate each other. I don't want to be a part of your damn community. The pandemic, from an emotional, even a collective conscious kind of standpoint, it destroyed the idea of community, because it was who are my people now? And Kristen, I don't know if you coined this or somebody else said it. Maybe it's a cliche term already. I don't know. If you want a village, you have to be a villager.
Yeah, but so that's an online sentiment, right? So my algorithm is really based around community, finding the messy parts of it, trying to figure out what works. And that is something that I see a lot, which is true, right? You can't keep asking to be part of things. You have to make the effort. You have to show up. Another thing I saw a content creator post is something like, if someone keeps asking you to do something and you cannot do it, and you want to spend time with them, you need to say something like, please keep me in mind for next time. Or can you do Coffee Tuesday? Yeah. Because there are going to be times when there's people that we do not want to continue a relationship with. And what are we going to do? We're going to slowly kind of stop responding.
Because you don't want to hurt their feelings.
You don't want to hurt their feelings, but you just, or maybe, hey, check, if I didn't have children, I had more free time, book club, I'd be in so many book clubs. The Clee Girls Book Club, they look like they do so much fun things. There's so many new ones. They just go places and read books. It looks so much fun. But there's groups for everybody, right? You have to keep the window open if you want to maintain that relationship, because people will start cutting you out, right? Yeah. You have to make a little bit of an effort.
Right.
I think that's the reason why I do things a certain way. And I don't know if you're similar with all the things you put together, but I get it. Life is hard. Things are busy, especially when you have kids and you have responsibilities and jobs. And people want to do stuff, but they get so easily consumed by the regular Monday. I get home, I do this, I'm exhausted, whatever. That's why I'm the one that pries and pokes at people we should go out, we should do this. I get a group of guys together to play whirly ball once a year. And if you guys know whirly ball,
oh yeah,
it's the best thing in the world.
Where's my invite, dude?
I'm setting one up in April. I'll let you know. It's near my birthday. But it started with before having kids, it was Friday. I'm great. I'm going to get a group of 10. We're going to go play whirly ball. Now I've got a list of 40 people that they're hey, I can't make it, but keep me on this list because I want it. Right. It's somebody. I like being part of that village, but I also understand that sometimes you have to be the more vocal villager to get people moving.
Sometimes you have to be the mayor. I mean, it really is. And it sucks because the older I get, the less I have that energy and steam, and I'll talk myself out of it by focusing on all the drama or the bad stuff. But like, and I think that's an important part of it, is like looking at it from that standpoint of like, also appreciate the people who are doing this. Like, give them feedback, but like also support them and pump them up. Because it takes a lot to be that person, even if it's a small group of 7 girls. Like,
it was a lot.
It takes a
It
lot.
was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of planning, a lot of money, a lot of coordination. It was a lot.
No, exactly. It is a lot, and it is. It's just kind of saying like it's hard to be part of the community. It's hard to be that villager, and I think just we have different perspectives of how hard it is, and to see it, and that like people are well intended and want to. It's just like I take the responsibility of being the person that's going to poke people sometimes and be like, hey, let's do community stuff, or let's get together, whether that's just you and I getting a drink or catching up. It's hard to be part of a community. It's hard to be active, and it's not that people don't want to or aren't well-intentioned. It's just you need to like try.
Yeah. I think most people are just really exhausted and worn out these days. And then there's the whole, social anxiety. Even if you don't struggle with social anxiety, there is again, where we're at in the world is, what if this person turns out to be somebody who hates me or I hate them? And it's a whole added level of just mind fuckery, no better way to put it. But it is, seriously, I'm talking to the audience right now. Like, it is so important for your own psyche and your own well-being to do it, and to not be one of those people that we're talking about who create the chaos within, to actually be like a part of it by bringing something to the table, not folding your arms and huffing and puffing going, how come nobody is planning anything? And then when it gets planned, showing up and complaining about how it was planned. Well, then you join in and help plan it. How about that? That's a great idea.
And I think too, so I had this whole bachelorette party this weekend, right? And a lot of effort did go into it. But things do not have to be that complicated, right? It can be as simple as calling your friend up, hey, do you want to go to the library? Or, hey, let's go to the playground.
Yeah.
I have a single moms group chat, and I created this group called SMIC, which is Single Moms in Cleveland. And I have no capacity for this right now. So all we have is a group chat. If someone's going to the playground, someone's going to the library, someone needs help with something, they just reach out in that chat.
Yeah.
And if anyone can do it, they can. I tried to do support groups. I tried to do meetups. I was putting so much energy, so much of my own money, so much of my time, and no one came.
Yeah. Well, and
like,
it drains your own mental, like you're doing it to try to help people's mental health, and it drains your own in the process. And that is my biggest deterrent with coordinating things these days. And it's something that I have to work on all the time. I mean, I'm doing the podcast. This takes incredible amounts of work.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you got to talk yourself up to it. Like you, I probably like all of you at the table, there's this, I wish I didn't have this constant urge and need to do this, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't. So I don't know.
Have you changed how you've prioritized doing some of these events, or certain events that you want to do? Like I think about like how I start with an idea, and then it bumps around and people don't show up to this, or what, like, are you prioritizing things that like fill your cup, or things that you think will fill other people's cups? Like, how has that evolved through time?
Yeah, so I went through a really, really bad breakup like 2 years ago. And so I coordinated a whole breakup party, right? So I got the vendors. I did it all through social media. I, had a whole, we stayed at an Airbnb beforehand. I had a photo shoot. I did all these things. So sometimes I do these events to distract myself and to put myself in that so I don't, do anything that's bad. So I'm just trying to, do that. So then when The Bachelorette was supposed to premiere, I'm like, oh, this is a fun way because I'm on social media all the time and everything is always centered around marriages, like getting married, right? You're having your bachelorette party, you're doing your wedding, you're doing your photo shoot. I'm like, what if I do all of this without having to be with a man at the end of it? What if I can kind of
so much easier.
It's so much easier. I get so I love that is it was very high effort. And I'm glad my friends came and I'm glad it worked out. But normally my events, I'm teaching yoga at Sibling Revelry tomorrow. So I'm doing a family yoga class. I love doing family yoga. It's intergenerational. Anyone can come. You can be a baby. You can be a senior citizen. I love just being you don't have to find a babysitter. Anyone can come. You can be there. That's very important to me. And those events now are so low maintenance.
Well, you kind of said it. Like you're kind of processing all these things, and like you said, we're all kind of. I do 2 people a day. I'm weird. Like I'm for decades. I just keep on never ending because I just like have to stay busy. So everyone has their own process, and I like that. You found your way to like kind of work through that and make it interesting, and
I will say though, my best friend ended up getting food poisoning or was sick beforehand, and I was like called her crying like, I don't want to do this. I never like for my birthday
Shouldn't have
party.
started this.
I never want to do this. I didn't want to be in this situation. Like I was like, so I mean, I've had like low moments with things.
Right.
Even the bachelorette
everybody.
party was like.
Yeah.
Events are hard. Events are really,
Events,
really tricky.
specifically events, because it's not like, well, if it doesn't go great, it will get better as time. No, you have like one shot at it. And that's tough. Somebody had mentioned on the call a big part of it too, when you're the person coordinating it, even if you're just, showing up and profiling people and putting it out there, is the imposter syndrome. There's also that voice in your head that's like, no one's going to like this. You suck. How much of that impacts you guys?
I see it at the library a lot. It breaks my heart when someone works so hard to bring a program to their neighborhood and no one shows up, or one person. And, they have like marketing behind them and it's just tough. But, you just have that talk with them. And it's like, even if one person came up, that might have meant something to them.
Yeah.
So you got to just get on your horse and kind of keep going right back at it. It's tough because no one wants to feel like that. But I just think of that a lot because we're always, like you said, putting on different kind of things for people and inviting everyone to the table. And when they don't show up, you just got to look at a new way to do it.
That's a healthy mindset. I don't know what therapy you're in or what drugs you're on, but leave me a note after this.
It took a lot of time.
A lot of drugs.
A lot of Catholic, a lot of beat.
Oh God, that alone. Do you ever feel that when you are doing your thing, or are you so deep into it now? You're like, I've been doing this forever.
Yeah, I've been doing it so long now. Like, I started doing this so long ago. So that's why I was saying I don't give oxygen to like any people who give me hate because I'm just like, I'm going to do my own thing and they'll be here tomorrow. And there's been 1,000 people who have come and they've done restaurant reviews and I bring everyone to the table. I love it. I love when new people are because they're going to cover things I can't. I'm one person doing this on the weekend, but I don't. I just know in probably 20 years I'll be doing the same thing. And they'll be doing something else.
It's incredible seeing your posts too, though. Like, because I know you have like some pre-planned and some that are just very organic. But like to see you walking into the biker bar and just taking pictures, like it's just talking about like that anxiety, like to just walk in to talk to anybody and just like get their story. It's so amazing to see what you do, and I think it's so
that
cool
comes with
to
age.
see
We were
that.
saying,
yeah.
doing and that's and like you kind of right back at you doing like a longer form, going deeper, and you're doing families. I love that there's all of these things in these neighborhoods that we didn't have before. It's like a good record.
But I think there's a really important takeaway from what Brian said and what you do is you're not a celebrity. You're not a professional athlete. You're just a guy.
Librarian, I always say.
Librarian is the coolest.
I don't want to say
that's the coolest thing to be.
That's why I didn't say just a librarian.
Yeah,
You're a regular Cleveland dude. The fact is you're going to all these different places with all these different people, and that's where a lot of us get that apprehension where we're like, what if they don't? But the proof is in the pudding. These people accept you. They like talking to you. They like connecting with you. And you've made all of these relationships and connections over the years because of that. I think that's proof that go out there and meet people.
Yeah, I like when people go and try. Luckily for like a decade, I was in all of the neighborhoods of Cleveland, getting to know everybody, and I would go to lunch and I would get to talk to people. So they do trust you. It's like putting in the time. Like instead of just like, hey, I want to do this story. Like I'm like, oh, I know your kids' names, and I used to eat here, and so, and like you said, sometimes you just meet people, and Clevelanders are awesome about that. They're open and they like to talk. We're talkers.
It's that Midwest hospitality. I feel like we're pretty open to talking to anybody or helping as long as like you meet in the middle. But I mean, to your point with like the imposter syndrome, putting yourself out there, if we all went into it knowing what we're doing, nothing would ever get started. So like, it's just like, I think if there's like anybody out here looking for advice on like the community engagement, like at first and foremost, like engage with your family or your friend or your neighbor no matter what their backing is. Like, it's just engage with some people. But like, if you really want to do something in the community, just get out there. I think through all of this, hopefully we're showing like it takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of messiness, and it's hard.
It'd be
but
scary.
again, hopefully you connect with that one person, or you engage, or like get somebody out there. But like, it takes a step, whether it's successful or not. Just keep trying at stuff, and you'll find your village or your community, however big or small that is, or however what type of project that is. You're going to find your people if you get out there and be vulnerable.
And the collective experience at the table is that the large majority of people embrace you, not just in Cleveland.
Yeah, all over. I always see these comments every day when like, is it safe there? I'm like, I just went there. It's safe, you know?
One of these days you should like post a picture with like a fake stab wound and be like, I mean, it's,
you got to be street smart in some of the places you go to, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's just what you're saying. You have to be vulnerable. You have to take a chance and like, oh, that food looks interesting. I'm going to go there, you know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about like library classes and how maybe like one person or no one shows up at them, there was a video that went viral, and it was a woman who had like a inner child healing class, and only one man showed up to it.
Yeah.
But they made like a video, and it was like so sweet, like it was so endearing, you know. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, he was meant to be there, you know. He was meant to be at that class.
Yeah.
And like I have been to classes before with one or two people, and you really do get like, you know, you get to know them more. And I've had classes where no one shows up or a bunch of people show up. I actually had a yoga class one time where I do bubbles at the end of the class, and the bubbles weren't working. And so everyone was just like, I do giant bubbles. Everyone's just standing there staring at me. Like, you know, like I've had really bad times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm like, sorry, bubbles aren't going to work today.
I would do yoga more if there were bubbles.
Yeah, there's bubbles after my yoga in the summer. So
That touches on something that I face even with the podcast on a daily basis is how do you define success? Is the event successful only if 500 people show up? Or is the event successful if I made one really solid connection, or if I change one person's life or even day?
Yeah.
And I think that's up to each individual as far as the planner of it. Obviously, you're talking about goals. You're a business guy, so you get all that stuff.
Mhm.
But like, did you define what success for the Cleveland Flag Project would be?
That was interesting because again, it like kept evolving, and honestly, I think it was only successful through genuine engagement with the community, through like talking to people and actually really wanting to understand how we can do something cool like that. And really, there was no plan after we launched the flag. So it was either like it's embraced and we do something with this, or like, cool, so that was it, and let's go to the next thing. But like, luckily, it was
Very
engaged and
successful
successful, and it's
on-
been really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, there's people that like the original flag. There's people that like this flag. I don't care. I think it's just been really cool because I've talked with people that don't like the flag or like the original flag, and we have a really engaging conversation. We shake hands and we make a day of it. But yeah, I think what's really cool is, I mean, we did the pride flag with it, and we had like a dozen of our flags in the pride parade. Like, I think what's really cool is to have something like that where people can feel excited about it. And I've like talked to some people or seen it flying at protests and marches and things like that, where it's like, it's almost brought me to tears. Like seeing like somebody thought very passionate enough about that to fly it or do something, and that's successful. Like I don't care if it becomes the official flag. I don't like, it's more about like, I've gotten what I wanted out of it, and that's community. And I think people have been able to get something out of that flag because they have a sense of community and passion for that community. So I think there's unrealistic goals and there's true successes. And I think I've brought some people together. I've gotten more connected with people. And I think that was the true success of it. And we've been, again, with like the flag, we give back to the food bank. And then with the pride flags and everything, we give back to the LGBTQ center. We've raised thousands of dollars. We're doing another really big project with the food bank with a shirt. Like, that's been successful.
Is that
like,
the one you're wearing right now?
So the shirt
Oh,
right
there you
now,
go.
we're going to be
Love it.
launching, and $10 of each shirt is going to go back to the food bank, which is 20 meals. And like, we're talking about success and like doing things impactful. Having two girls, you know, a thing that's constantly in my mind about the food bank is, I don't care what your political views are. I can't imagine having a kid, taking them to school when they haven't had food, and now they can't engage in class and they're not successful. And like, that's when I'm thinking about giving money to a food bank. Like, there's a kid that needs food, that needs to get out of a situation or become successful and grow, and like doing things like that, that's success. Like however many shirts we sell or flags or whatever, like we've raised funds for something that I think is impactful and doing something for the community that's outside of me. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, being a part of something that's bigger than you is huge. I mean, that's what community is. I get down, I beat myself up all the time about I'll just use the podcast, for example. It's like, I should be getting more views. I should be getting more listens. I need to do this. But it's that one phone call or one text or one email where, like, for example, I had somebody go, I listened to your episode on such and such, and it touched my soul. I cried. I'm like, hell yeah. If that was the only download we got.
Yes, crying is the best.
I'm like, yeah, like, to me, that's success.
It
like,
is.
we're
That's what
putting
it comes
something
down
out there
to.
that matters to somebody.
I think of this all the time. Like I do this show with Mike Polk, and we talk about imposter. I'm next to a comedian, and I'm a librarian, and we go up there on stage, and I've learned a lot by going to his shows and seeing stand-ups work through this really hard stuff. I've seen them bomb, and Mike's taught me a lot. Like, hey, not every joke's gonna work, and you kind of you see. But at the end, when someone is like, oh, I brought my dad, he loves this, or my daughter's interested in this balloon fest, like it's just like these stories you tell people. It's exactly what you said. It's the small moments,
It really is. What about you? Have you had a moment where you're like, I didn't think this was going to matter so much, but this was everything?
Yeah, so for some reason, whenever I think about like what feels the most successful to me, it comes back to my yoga, because social media is something that doesn't always make me feel good. It actually makes me feel bad most of the time. It makes me feel more bad than it makes me feel good. So I had a yoga class, and I'm really big Taylor Swift fan. So I had like a Taylor Swift yoga, and we were making friendship bracelets at the end. And one of the little girls, her bracelet broke, and I had like a bracelet kit that I haven't even opened yet, and I was able to like give it to her. And while I gave it to her, I was playing some Taylor Swift song, and her aunt recently passed away, and that was her aunt's favorite Taylor Swift song. And like, it was just so powerful. Like, the little girl was here. I was able to give her this cute little bracelet kit. She came to my yoga. She was able to be part of it. The moment felt very connecting, right? Like, yoga for me is about connection. And obviously, me giving a bracelet kit or doing a Taylor Swift class is not like life-changing for anybody. But in those little moments, it feels really powerful. It feels really magical. And I've done yoga classes from babies, like I said, to senior citizens, and I've had classes that bomb. I've had classes that are horrible, and I have classes that have been really good and really connecting. And at the end of the day, if people just get to like rest or listen to a book or blow some bubbles or do one positive thing with it, that's what's worth it to me. I used to primarily teach in the Cleveland City schools for yoga, so doing like after-school programs or in-school programming, and that just kind of like, if I could just give like the high schoolers a chance to rest. Like, because when you teach yoga, you want to like give back. You want to give some peace. You want to give some kind of, or joy. So that is way more beneficial to me than social media.
Well, yeah. No, social media it used to be kind of a double-edged sword. It is now 98% horrible. Finding that 2% goodness is hard.
I'm pretty like 60-40 because
Okay.
I get income. That's how I get my income.
Look, your experience is very different than most people's.
Yeah, it is. And I'm very lucky for it,
Yeah.
but it is my job.
Yeah.
So
but it can be. It just depends. Like, you also know how to navigate it better than the average person. Like, you know what to tune out and what to tune into and who to connect with and who, like you said, like, to not give any air to. Like, there's
Well, so I had a video that was about my breakup. It reached over 30 million views.
Jesus.
And it was...
Did you break up with the king of England?
That feels very Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
What, the video?
Getting
Did you
30
write a
million
song?
views.
I wrote lots of poetry. Lots of breakup poetry. Oh my goodness. I was a little unhinged. But I was like, the worst thing I do is write some poetry. Like, please. But no, I have this video, and it blew up really big, and the comment section was like horrific, right?
Sure.
But I also, with that, got a lot of emails about people telling me about their situations and their support. And so during that, I created like a support channel on my my page, so people could like go there. And I used to kind of post more, do giveaways or just passages or something like that. But it is tricky because I want to talk about my struggles. I want to talk about what I'm going through, but also you can't trust everybody.
Right.
Parasocial relationships are a thing. People, just because I do social media or I do like to, be in community, again, doesn't mean I want to spend my time with everybody. And not everybody's going to want to spend their time with me, right? Like I, a lot of times have low energy. A lot of times I just kind of want to read my book or tune in.
Oh, so you're a human.
I'm an introvert. I'm very introverted.
I'd say you're
but walking
ambiverted.
What is it?
Ambivert. Like,
Is that both?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or the otrovert, which I think is
That's the
like
new
the
thing.
new
Yeah,
one.
it's the new
Oh
one.
yeah, I saw that too.
I don't know if anyone knows their Enneagram number, but I'm an Enneagram 4. So I need to be seen. I need to be heard. I need to be understood.
You
so
asked
that
me
is
that
Like, did
when
I
we-
ask everybody?
You
this?
asked me
I
that
literally-
when we met in person. What's funny is like
Yeah.
3 more people in the last couple of weeks have asked me my Enneagram number.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've taken it,
Yeah, I gotta remember.
but I
gotta figure
cannot
that
remember
out.
what it
I
is.
don't know.
Oh, you're a 14. I'm just kidding. That number
There's
doesn't
no
exist.
14.
I know,
That's a
what I was
lie.
joking.
It's 1 through 9.
You're off the charts,
All right.
man. So as I'm polishing our outline for this conversation today, I'm like, I want to give people takeaways. Like how can they get involved? How can they see what's out there? I'm sitting at my local coffee shop and writing this up, and then I look over and the bulletin board is full of like 100 different things, and it's all community based. Like, get involved.
Right.
It's not just like, buy this product. And number one, I can actually give a bullet point out. Go to a local coffee shop.
Yeah.
Coffee shops are in themselves like a microcosm in the community, but also there's a lot of different, like clubs and things that constantly post in there. And honestly, I find my people are usually coffee shop people. Even if they're weirdos, like super weirdos, I'm a weirdo and I love it. So like coffee shops, one. What else do you guys have?
Kind of like what you just said there, the phrase just look up. Look up, whether that's from your phone, whether that's from make eye contact with a human being, look at your surroundings, look at the bulletin boards, man. Bulletin boards are still a thing. People are putting numbers and look up. If you want something, look up and engage with somebody. Mm-hmm. I think again, with all of this, it's hard, it's messy, it's tough to do, but like with anything that's hard and messy, like you're going to get a reward out of it. And I think, I don't know. For me, it's just find that path. Just keep looking up and engaging a little bit, and you'll find the roads and the groups of people that you want. But you just have to engage somehow.
Yeah, it's much harder and messier to be isolated. It really is. We're not built to be in isolation.
And when you talk about coffee and like what you do, like people are always asking me, how did you get that person's photo? I'm like, oh, I sent them a little text. I sent them a DM, and they always say yes. It's just unbelievable. And I tell this to a lot of times to younger people. They're like, oh, I want to do that. Or I want, I'm like, oh, just send them. And they're like, yeah, he said yes. Like the top person you can imagine in Cleveland. That's the beauty of like why I'm so proud to be from here, because people really do support each other. They make time for someone, or, so when you're talking about pausing, look up, fortune favors the bold, but just quick little message.
I know I talked to anybody about this. Like, when I was younger, I think I was so afraid of being vulnerable or doing something that I didn't know. And that's kind of all we've been talking about. And getting older, I'm like trying to be vulnerable and tell a young kid, like, go do something or engage with me. Ask me a question. I'll tell you what happened. Like,
it's easy to say, when you're, because you're at that age, like I tell my daughter, and she's an introvert, and she's like, God, that's not happening. Or please, Dad, don't go talk to that person. But
oh, I couldn't imagine if my dad was doing that. I'd be like, oh,
I know it's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anyone ever wants to do yoga, Kids in Cleveland yoga, but no, I do try to make it try to make it intergenerational. I try to make it inclusive. So if anyone has any, concerns about their child or they're nervous about a class, I can always, try to tailor it to the child or give them an environment that'll be, maybe a
That's
little
really
calmer
good.
or something.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was a preschool teacher for a while. I really love, that's my favorite age. I really want to be inclusive. I want everyone to be able to come. I think, too, that if one group doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that all groups aren't going to work for you. I have been in groups where they have not worked for me, and it does make you feel lonelier, but you have to keep trying. And I think, like what you said, if you're surrounded by a mission or something you believe in, it'll obviously be easier. So if you have a kid with any behavior issues or any kind of concerns, there's a group called Connecting for Kids, and they do really great programs in the libraries. A lot of times they'll also offer childcare. I love all the book clubs that are going on in Cleveland. I think they're amazing. There's a lot of walking groups. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will, on my page, Kristen Cleveland, I will self-promote.
You're going to plug the shit out of all your links at the end of this.
That's my
Don't worry
main.
about that.
I will do roundups, right? Because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want to be your friend, or I want to do this and I want to do that. And like, I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of babysitting tokens, as I call it, a lot of times where I don't have my kids. So I will show all of these different groups that are doing all these different things in the area.
Yeah.
And you can go to some things and see if it works, see if it doesn't.
Yeah, and people know you. Like, just somebody the other day asked, like, oh, what's your next episode that you're doing? And I'm like, oh, I have these people. Of course, everybody knows John Skirdick, the legendary John Skirdick.
Legendary.
Old. That's what I always say.
No, the young, legendary librarian. And like, everyone knows the Flag Project, whether or not they know you personally. And if I say Kristen in Cleveland, everyone's like, yeah, she's blowing up. She's everywhere.
Oh, good.
But that's a good thing.
And I
That's
think it's
like-
because it's because you also give back. You're authentic, and you're not like, it's not just one thing. Like, I'm going to just do food, or I think
it's my life.
I think it's a little bit of everything. And to give you props, I mean, like you actually give back and say, hey, everybody kind of look at this page, and that's really admirable.
I will say, so I have met one of my fundraisers was through a family you posted, and your posts are so authentic and they do connect. And I'm interested in the stories, and I love that you just give a glimpse. So it's like you got to do a little of your own research, right? So I have found people and family through you, and I've seen things that you've posted, and
it leads
your
to the
podcast
next thing. It's cool.
So
right?
it is great. Like, it's a great tool, and
I mean,
I do crash outs. Like, I do. And people get so mad at me. Like, I'll kind of go off of not talking about community or family friendly things and talk about my own life.
How dare you?
And people do not like that. They're like, stick to
Well,
your
I think
lane.
that's where you and I are the most similar at this table, is like, this podcast is very much Matt. Everything inside my brain is this show. So there's like funny episodes, and there's more serious ones, and there's more dramatic ones. But I think it's important because it just shows like none of us are these black and white cookie cutter things. Like, we are very human. And that's like most of what we talked about in this conversation. It's like, humans are messy, but like, embrace each other. We are not wired to be solo. I like to create sometimes my own artwork for the walls and stuff. I'm a creative person. And I joked with my ex that I was going to make just a big live, laugh, love thing, because she hated that cliche. But instead, what I did is you see like the ones that are like quotes, but they're like decorative. They're kind of like pictograms, whatever you want to call them. And I took a Carl Sagan quote, which is so simple, but like, it makes me think all the time. And it is, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. And you can take the same word love with hope, community, anything like humanity. We don't know of any life outside of Earth. Whether or not there is, like, we are very much alone. And the more we isolate, the more we go down I don't want to be part of this state or this city or this town or my street or my apartment neighbor or something. Like, we're not wired to be that way. The only thing that really makes it bearable, you said survival, like, it's survival. And it really is.
It's a hierarchy of need. Yeah, you have to have it. Yeah.
So I was thinking that the only thing that's going to bring everyone together is an alien invasion. So that's all we got going for us, because if there's an alien invasion, humanity will have to come together.
Oh, you think so, but there will be
Yeah,
people who
I
are
don't
like
know.
rooting for the aliens.
Yeah. I mean, they might not be the enemy. It would be complicated. I guess people are so divisive. People are very divisive.
Yeah.
They are, but because we're all in our own bubbles, we only know our own reality. Like all of us live in the same community, but we all have our own very different lenses that we see it through. You touched on it, and I don't want to be too woo-woo here. Like yoga, like spirituality, I think a whole human is somebody who is connected to themselves and others, the community, on the intellectual side, the emotional side, the spiritual side, and then the physical side as far as like any kind of like physical activity. I think that's what community can be, has been in the past. And we really, truly, to survive as a species, but as individuals, is to like reconnect with people on all four of those things.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that, because a lot of Clevelanders are just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna go to therapy. I'm not gonna meditate. Like I talk to my friends all the time, like, oh, why don't you try that? It's just like you have to have these dialogues to make it more open.
I just thought of this. So I've been to a women's circle recently. Is very powerful. Obviously, I don't think any of you have been to a women's circle. So I think
They
that
won't
they're
let me in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, they
try.
probably
They
wouldn't.
keep kicking me out.
But there is something about like women and girls, and we kind of do connect in like deep ways, right? And, like
yeah.
we're able to have community, we're able to have villages. Ever since I was a kid, I had my girlfriends.
Yeah.
Like I always had my girls, So I think it's probably like you have a different perspective than I do, because like I've met so many friends in bathrooms and drunk college days, and like people I still follow on social media. And like I don't know. And I'm raising two boys, right? So it's like my son's in sports and he likes video games, so I'm trying to find community for him, and like it's different to me. So
We've talked about on the show, I would love to hear if you guys disagree with this, but women have, from a human standpoint, especially from a cultural standpoint, have evolved far past men on
yes.
average.
Yep.
When it comes to that, because in the past, men, we'd get together. Not that there's anything wrong with getting together to have a beer and just like talk the shit. We're seeing more of this because a lot of people are like, again, if you point at all these other folks and go, you're the problem, when they're all gone and you're still suffering, suddenly there's only one person you can blame. And men, like not being connected with other men and being able to have those conversations, like true masculinity is that showing up without that mask on, being vulnerable and talking through that stuff. But we are seeing, finally, I think decades too late, but we're seeing an uptick in that because, women, I'm afraid that you guys are all going to like get into those circles and take off to another planet because you're going to be like, screw all these guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we need a matriarchy. So if we had a matriarchy, we'd all just take care of each other, right? Like, and men can obviously be involved in the matriarchy if they
Thank you.
if
Thanks.
they
Thanks.
if they play by the rules. But a matriarchy really just protects children, which we should be doing. We should be protecting our future generations.
Yeah.
We should be doing that. But women are very powerful, and like even in the women's circle at the end, you all hold hands, and I can feel the power.
Yeah.
I don't know if I held hands with you guys right now, if I'd feel the power.
I don't know.
I don't
for the
think
power.
so. We
Yeah.
could try.
No, I think that's a huge point. And again, like talking about community is that I think the struggle with men kind of between these generations is losing that vulnerability and emotion, right? I think some of our dads or mentors or people we looked up to, they didn't get deep enough. There's a lot of connections. There's a lot of guys that have good friends, but there's that like tougher conversation, that vulnerability that I think in our generation is becoming more present, but it's taken a lot because there weren't those deep conversations.
Slow and sure, hopefully. Yeah, I watched a terrifying documentary, that Manosphere by Louis Theroux. I was like, wow, in the absence of not having discussion or role model, or, you will turn to something that is a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, and some of the people that are more vocal are not necessarily the people that I would like my kids to be following. And that's where, again, a lot of, at my age, I'm looking to these kids like, okay, I want it. When I talk about communicating in front of my kids and talk with my wife, like I talk about my vulnerabilities. I talk about the ways that I fall short or struggling with, because I think when you are openly vulnerable and struggling, you become more approachable for that person to come up to you and go, hey, I'm struggling, instead of bottling it up and, hey, there's nothing wrong with the world. So it's going to be really hard for you to come up and tell me about your problems because you don't see anybody else struggling.
And vulnerability, like emotional vulnerability, is not a weakness. It's actually a strength. It becomes a strength because you become a bigger asset to the people in your circles. When you are more open to other people coming forward and saying things, like sometimes it gives you perspective. You're like, Jesus, I thought my problem seems so small. And being able to talk about it out loud, I mean, that's what therapy is. You're just talking through your stuff.
But it's hard in this, I mean, you're brought up in Cleveland, like, you don't do that. What kind of punk are you? I mean, that's what I was like, you don't, so you have to, like, these conversations are so important to, like, you can help someone get out of something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you help yourself in the process. Yeah. I mean, you really do help yourself by doing that. Yeah. So please don't leave us. Keep all the women here with us.
Well, I told my son, he's almost 9, I'm like, he's having a hard time finding some friends. And I was like, you should be friends with the girls. Be friends with the girls.
Most of my friends are female anymore. Yeah. And it's just because I feel more comfortable with your average female than male anymore. I still have my guy friends, obviously, but most of them are like, let's go watch sports together or something. You don't have it unless they're older. The older gentlemen, thank God, man, I got some good people in my crew, but I have one friend who's in his early 60s, and he's telling me about his struggles with anxiety. And at the end of the conversation, he said, you're only the second person I've ever talked about that with. And I was like, oh, is this new? He said, no, I've been experiencing this for like 40 years. Struggling alone is the worst fate you could wish on somebody.
Yeah.
It's really important to talk about this stuff. But before I get to the final question, links and plugs. Where should people go to keep up with what you're doing?
I have a column in Cleveland Magazine where I highlight 8 people a month, and then I do a history of Cleveland, a comedy show with Mike Polk. So I'm always at the Music Box. You can look for that, or follow me with my really tough last name to spell online.
And for those of you outside of Cleveland directly, or maybe not know it, you've mentioned Mike Polk a couple of times. It's really important because it ties into this conversation. What put Mike Polk on the map was he made the funny Cleveland tourism videos.
At least we're not Detroit.
Yeah. If you were on the internet, you saw this. That's what made Mike Polk famous. And the other thing to add on to your plugs, for those of you outside of Cleveland, like the library is one of the main sources that you can go to that is that free space where there's lots of community activities. The bulletin boards are there. Yeah. Thank God they still exist, and you guys are keeping them
going. We're the 3rd
third
biggest in the country, and I'm always telling people this is why we are a world-class city. You have the orchestra, you have the art museum, and you have the best library in the country. So come in, it's yours. You paid for it. Your ancestors built it. So come and see us.
So by proxy, does that make you the best librarian in the country?
No.
The 4th best.
I've met a lot of good librarians.
No, bullshit.
I'm just your friendly neighborhood librarian.
We're going to tag under your name. It's going to say best librarian.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to get you a shirt.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So, follow me. So, Kristen in Cleveland on social media, Instagram.
Spell Kristen because people will spell
Kristen
it right.
is Kristin. So an I-N, in Cleveland. So I'm mostly on social media. I had a website and then I messed something up. So we'll get back to that at some point. So Kids in Cleveland is my yoga. Kristen in Cleveland's my social media. And that's where I'm at.
Facebook and Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you really want all the unhinged, unfiltered thoughts.
The good stuff.
Oh, that's where people are going first now that you've said that.
I hope so. I hope they do.
Ryan, you got lots going on. Let's start with the flag.
You can find our website, clevelandflag.com. Our social media handles are CLE Flag. That's where you can see what's going on with the flag. That's where you can check on all the Cleveland Chats videos that we're putting together. About this time that it airs, we'll be launching the Homegrown Help series, which is this shirt that we've started with the food bank. For those on video, you can see it there. The start of this shirt was about kind of right about the time when like a lot of that federal money got pulled from the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. And I had this moment of Clevelanders back their own, right? Like, so if nobody else is going to, we're going to support our own community. And that's where I had this idea of the shirt. So that's where Homegrown Help comes from. And basically all the proceeds, which will be $10 per shirt, goes right back to the food bank, which I think equates to 20 meals for people, which is great. So
that's awesome.
Again, it's a shirt to fund the food bank, but also a statement of I'm a Clevelander and I back my community. So that'll be kind of launched right now, so you can go on to clevelandflag.com and buy your shirt and check out all the Cleveland Flag stuff we got going on.
All right. Last question for you guys. If you could throw one event, one party, one experience that involves others, your dream event, what would it be? By the way, this can be impactful. This can be funny. You can, whatever you want to say.
I already mentioned Whirly Ball.
So that is, so you've already dream accomplished.
Doing it.
That's it. I have two. So I really want to throw like a murder mystery party. I'm really into the traders right now. Yeah, I really want to do it. Really, really want to do it. And also, so I've already had my breakup party. I've had my bachelorette party. I want to throw a wedding, but not get married. Like I want a fancy dress. I want a party. I want a cake. I want all those things.
That's called a sweet 16.
A sweet 16. Well, I'm a lot older than that. Yeah, I think, again, a lot of celebrations are kind of around like men. And I still want to celebrate myself and celebrate my friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm really about women's empowerment. I guess I have to like let men into my life because I'm raising two boys. So I'll try. I'm really going to try.
They need a mentor. They need somebody to look
Yeah,
to.
they do, which
And
they're
by the way,
very lucky.
there's at least a couple at this table. There are some great, evolved, and more enlightened men out there.
Yes, there are. There are. I've had a lot of experiences with some that aren't. So I'm in recovery from that. But throwing a big wedding, throwing a murder mystery party, and I love events. So any and all events.
People will ask me often about when are you going to retire? When the library? So we were joking for my retirement party. Someone had counted up, like I've done over 10,000 Clevelanders interviews. And I said, let's invite them at my last day. They all can come to the main library and we'll just have an open bar. That'd be my dream one.
So
I'm
much
down.
fun.
That
I'm
would be
going.
amazing.
Can we do it
That
now?
would-
That
Yeah,
sounds really fun.
That is the
So we're gonna close it
coolest
up.
party to
Yeah,
be
you
involved
beat
with.
my murder mystery and my fake wedding.
That is the definition of Cleveland community.
Yeah. And then
All
I
of
get
those
more
people.
people to come to the library. That's all I can.
Yeah. I mean, you're the underground celebrity of Cleveland. Like that's my mark of like a true, like, do you know who John Skurtic is?
Well, no one knows. I usually hide behind the.
They
until-
know of you,
yeah.
but they don't know you. But
They don't know
you're-
what you look like. They know nothing about you.
Do you have
Better
no
that way.
pictures of you on your social media?
No.
No.
That's why
Maybe
I
on
highlighted
Facebook,
them on
yeah.
mine.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
excited
yeah,
to turn
yeah,
the
yeah.
camera
You
around
on
on
social
them.
media.
Right.
Might be the smartest person I know just for that alone. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for doing this. Thanks for bringing to the table all of the good information and your own experiences. And thank you for doing what you're doing because it is important. And people like myself benefit from it. So never lose sight of that. You have impacted so many people in a positive way. And for those of you outside of Cleveland, I mean, all of the things we're talking about still apply, especially in the big little cities or the little big cities, whatever you want to call it. For those of you out there, I mean, you don't have to take away our talking points and go do action, but I do promise it will enrich your life, make it a little bit better, make you feel like you're a part of something bigger than just yourself and your small community of friends, and you'll grow. Like the more people that you're around who are different than you, the more you learn about yourself, and the better your life is. Remember what Carl Sagan said, because I put it on my wall, instead of live, laugh, love. And we will see you village people next time.
We just went there. Now you can go to thegoingtherepodcast.com for links to all the podcast platforms, our socials, and of course, YouTube. While you're at it, give us a rating, share with a friend, and subscribe.
This podcast is brought to you in part by its host and Frame One Media, in association with Kaylee Williams, Joe Calley, and Bobby Thomas.